Hello mathematicians, welcome back to Number Corner. For Number Corner today, we will be looking at our calendar grid and solving some story problems that go along with the markers. Here's what you'll need today. You'll need your whiteboard, a marker, and an eraser. If you don't have a whiteboard, a piece of paper and a pencil will work just fine. Take a moment to pause the video and get what you need. Now this month for our calendar grid, you may have started to notice that our calendar markers are all flags of different countries. I want you to look at the 4 calendar markers we've posted so far. What do you notice about these flags? Now you may have noticed a few different things. You may have noticed the different colors in the flags. Every single one has red in it. Show a connection if you've noticed that. Yeah, that's going to be something we'll focus on a lot this month. You may have noticed some other things as well. I want to let you know that there is a story problem to go along with each of our flags for the month. We're going to work on all of the story problems for the flags that we've uncovered so far. I'm going to read these story problems to you 2 times. The first time, I just want you to listen and think about the problem. The second time is when I'll have you use your whiteboard to write down an equation that would match the story problem. We'll have a look at how I want you to do that when we start with our first flag. After we write our equations, we'll go back to our calendar grid observation chart and think about some patterns we're starting to see. Let's look at our calendar marker for day 1. Listen as I read the story problem for the first time. One person went to Chile and saw 10 goats in the Andes Mountains. How many people and goats in all? Think about what the problem is asking you. Now, I'm going to read this problem one more time. When I read this problem now, I want you to write an equation to match. But instead of writing the answer in your equation, I want you to write a square or a box to show the answer, not to solve the problem quite yet. So you'll just make a box to show where that answer should be, just like that. All right, listen for the second time, then write your equation. One person went to Chile and saw 10 goats in the Andes Mountains. How many people and goats in all? Now you may have written an equation that looks like this. 1 plus 10 equals something. Show a connection if that's the equation that you wrote. Good thinking. Now we write 1 for the 1 person and the 10 for the 10 goats because we know we're looking for how many goats in all. We want to know the answer of the person and the goats put together. Now take a moment to solve that equation. Show a connection if you answered 11. Good thinking. Let's go to our second problem. Erase your boards so you're ready to write your next equation. I'll read this once. Listen for the first time. 2 people went to Norway and saw some fish in the Arctic Ocean. There were 22 people and fish in all. How many fish think about what the problem is asking you to do. What should your equation look like? Remember, instead of writing the answer, you're putting a box where the answer should go, just like this. I'll read it again. Write your equation. 2 people went to Norway and saw some fish in the Arctic Ocean. There were 22 people and fish in all. How many fish? Take a moment to write your equation. Show a connection if you wrote an equation that looks like this. If you're showing a connection, good thinking. Now I want you to take a moment and think about how you knew that's what your equation should look like. Now you may have been thinking about the problem. Well, I know that I'm starting with 2 people who went to Norway. And then I can see that they saw some fish. There were 22 people and fish in all. How many fish? Well, I know right away that that's what I need to figure out because they've only told me it's some fish. And usually when it says in all, well, that's the answer that goes at the end of my equation. So I knew that's where 22 should be. Show a connection if that's what you were thinking. That's a great way to think through a story problem. Now, can you solve this problem by filling in the empty box to show us how many fish there are? Show a connection if you wrote 20 in the box. Good thinking. If we have 22 and we know there's 2 people, well, we can just think, take that 2 away, we'd have 20 left. Well, that would be 20 fish. You could have thought of this in a different way, too. Let's take a look at our next problem. Erase your board so you're ready to write your next equation. Just listen for the first read. Some people went to Canada and saw 30 reindeer in the forest. There were 33 people and reindeer in all. How many people? Remember, you are going to put a box for the answer. We're not solving it quite yet. Listen as I read the problem again to write your equation. Some people went to Canada and saw 30 reindeer in the forest. There were 33 people and reindeer in all. How many people? Show a connection if you wrote an equation that looks like this. If you're showing a connection, that's good thinking. You may have been thinking, well, we start our problem with some. That tells me right away, I don't know how many people if it says some people, because I don't have a number right here. They went to Canada and saw 30 reindeer. There were 33 people and reindeer in all. Well, 33 is my answer because it says in all, and I know I have 30 reindeer. Take a moment to solve this equation to find out how many people there are in Canada. If you wrote 3, that's good thinking. 3 plus 30 equals 33. Let's look at our last problem for today. Erase your board so you're ready to write your equation. Remember, just listen for the first read. 4 people went to Mexico and saw 40 children at a fiesta. How many people in all? Remember, think about what the problem is asking you and write a box in your equation for where the answer should be. Write your equation as I read this for a second time. 4 people went to Mexico and saw 40 children at a fiesta. How many people in all? Show a connection if you wrote an equation that looks like this. If you're showing a connection, good thinking. We know from the problem that we have 4 people. And we also saw 40 children. We want to know how many people they were in all. Well, I know that 4 and 40 all put together would give me my answer. Take a moment to solve this problem. Show a connection if your answer is 44. Good thinking. Now let's take a moment to look back at our observation chart and think about some patterns we may be starting to see. Here is our calendar grid observation chart so far. Take a moment to think about what you notice. Do you see any patterns? Now you may have noticed a few different things. You may have noticed that under amount of red, well, every day we have 1/2 written. I wonder if that will continue to repeat itself. I'm also noticing that our symbols are changing. We first have the equal to symbol. Then we have 2 greater than symbols, meaning there's more than half red on the flag for Norway and the flag for Canada. I'm also seeing a less than symbol right here, meaning there's less than half red on the flag for Mexico. Draw a connection if you noticed this pattern too. Are you noticing any patterns with our story problem equations? Now you may have noticed some numbers going up. We're starting at 1 and going up to 4. We're also going up in the middle by tenths. What are we going up by over here? We'll come back to that later. It's okay if you aren't sure yet. What you're going to do now is you're going to go to Seesaw and write down one thing you've noticed or a pattern you're starting to see on our calendar grid observation chart. Then turn in your work to show your teacher. I'll see you next time for Number Corner.